Hello, this is Lucretia with the Calm and Confident You podcast. Today we are wrapping up the series on the stages of change. Remember, knowing the stages of change helps to focus on the appropriate tasks toward making a successful change. We are going through the stages of change as described in the book Changing for Good by Prochaska and Diclemente. They studied people who had been successful in actually changing problem behaviors and maintaining that change. Problem behaviors could be anything from drug use, eating disorders, self-harm, gambling, anything ongoing which is detrimental or self-destructive. In the last podcast episode, I talked about the stage of action. Today, I am talking about the stage called maintenance. During maintenance, the person has stopped their problem behavior and developed healthier ways of functioning. Now there is activity that supports the changes made and solidifies the new ways. The original problem is no longer a focus, and the person may attend to other areas of life. Adults have a variety of stressors in their lives which are always changing and bringing up new stressors. When I was a teen and stressed, I would likely eat an entire bag of potato chips. And in my 20s, when I was stressed, I might go out for drinks with friends. Now, when I am feeling stressed, it is automatically my choice to go for a walk or to use the elliptical at the gym. I just know that I will feel better and those activities are good for me. I'm getting two benefits in one activity. Someone who has given up an addiction or a bad habit has now developed new ways which have become the norm for them. They don't have temptations around them. They spend time with people who support their new way of living. They have found new ways of caring for and comforting themselves. Basically, the person has created new healthy habits. As stated by James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, in the long run, the quality of our lives depends on the quality of our habits. Unfortunately, during the maintenance stage, there may be a relapse. Relapse is when the person slips back into problem behaviors. They have a setback. This does not mean they have failed or that they have to start all over. However, people often beat themselves up, see a relapse as failure, become dejected, and make the problem worse than it needs to be. Feelings of guilt get in the way of working on the problem. People usually do not have to start all over because they have already learned so much. When a relapse occurs, it needs to be reviewed and assessed for what contributed to the mistake. The person must regroup and make a plan to address it. Then they step back into the cycle of change and commit again to the behaviors which support the change. If you try to change and it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean you give up. It means you try to figure out what will work. This may seem silly, but this applies to any bad habit. I have learned this lesson with my tendency to be messy. I have tried out some way to get organized and then had it completely fail. And then I would give up. It took a professional organizer to point out that it means you just look for a better way to organize, such as a different container or a different filing system. You just don't quit trying to find what works. This is not to say that I have conquered my messiness, but I have succeeded in some areas to find the perfect way to manage a certain type of mess. But please call before you come over. My house is still always quite messy. Maintenance can be boring, and the person may crave their old ways. Maintenance is reinforced with both consequences and rewards. When a person tries to dabble in their old bad habit, they might get a negative consequence, such as a headache, or lost money, or miss out on something they care about. But they also need to look at what it was they were craving. There is something rewarding they are missing. It can help to look for something that can replace that craving with a more positive alternative. First, the craving needs to be analyzed. Then problem solving and creativity come in to find a useful replacement. This also involves the person realizing they need to acknowledge and care for themselves. The process of change and then maintenance requires self-reflection and insight. It requires being honest with oneself. Here is a quote which reflects that. Be yourself, not your idea of what you think somebody else's idea of yourself should be. And that was Henry David Thoreau. Okay, to summarize, during the maintenance stage, the problem shifts to the background. It is under control and the person can attend to other areas of their life. But there may be a relapse where the person falls back into their past problem behavior. This doesn't have to be a complete setback if the person will analyze what went wrong and make a plan to manage that aspect. Then they recommit to their new ways. Going forward this week, take a look around you. Is there something you gave up on that you could revisit? Maybe it is getting organized in some way. Maybe it is a project you never finished. Maybe it is regular exercise that needs to shift with the change in weather. Or maybe it is some self-care. Can you figure out how to get back on track? If you are liking this podcast, subscribe to it on your favorite streaming service. Look up Calm and Confident You and use the and symbol when you enter the title into search. Please share this podcast with others and spread the word to help it grow a following. And until next time, be well.